Hey guys, welcome to Adventures in Real Estate Farming. I'm your host, Jeremy Herder, and this is where we talk to incredible agents who, through their trials, tribulations, and perseverance, have built amazing businesses, and it all comes from how to farm the area. Today, you guys are in for a treat. We have Meghan Nyback, who is the leader of the Meghan and Christine team, and she shares with you exactly their blueprint, what they did exactly in the first 12 months to go from 600 homes to over years to do over 2,800 homes, to go from zero sales in the area to now they're doing well over 28 million in volume every single year. She gives this strategic advice. She gives tactical and operationally how they handle this on a month-to-month and year-over-year basis. Incredible nuggets. You're not going to want to miss this. So stick around and enjoy the pod. Welcome to Adventures in Real Estate Farming. Meghan, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's an honor, Jeremy. You know I would do anything for you. You're part of my success.
Well, it means the world to me. So thank you so much. So listen, I want to jump right in and give the people what they came here for, which is they want to know, how do we do it? How do we build the business? You and Christine, again, have built an incredible business through farming. So I just want to start in the beginning. I want to go back to day one, right? The strategy for you guys. What was your strategy going in? What was your expectation? Was it around branding yourselves? Was it, hey, we need listings, we need buyers? Give us a little background in the very, very beginning when you first started.
Yeah, I think we really had to discuss what made us good as realtors. And I think when we were thinking about all of the avenues you could do in real estate, one, farming's just easier, I think, because it's in your own area that you usually know. And I think that you're already going to be in that area, like getting listings in that area that's close to your house or close to the areas that you know would be good, right? Than having to commute all over wherever for hours away. And then also just I always wanted to make my real estate part of bettering my community and really offering value. And you do that with farming. Like that's exactly what it is. You're putting on community events, you're doing donation drives. There's so many things that you can do where like the neighbors are just literally, if you knock on their door, they're happy you knocked on their door because they see what you're doing for the neighborhood. And that just seems like it's a no-brainer to me when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very good point. So let me ask you this. When you first started, what was the size of the farm? How did you pick that original size? And we'll get to where you are today, but what did you guys do? How did you pick that? And how big was it when you started?
Our farm was 600 homes when I started, which was just a main block in the Los Angeles area that I lived in, Christine lived in. Like it was just this little square in the valley that was what we could handle right away with 600.
And so let's talk a little bit. So let's get into some of then let's talk a little bit about, well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you an expectation question and strategy. So we picked the 600. We know we live in that area. It makes sense to us, right? Everything that you said originally. And so what was your expectation? Did you expect to get a listing in the first week or month, or or was it more just branding and getting your name out there? What was your guys' expectation?
The expectation is everybody always tells you with farming that it takes a while, that like usually it takes 2, 3, 4 years where you get a real system of getting listings out of it. And I would say that was pretty true. Absolutely true. But then there were definitely times a year or two in where we'd have 6 listings at once in the farm, right? And it'd just be all at once and they're all on the same street because the neighbors talk to each other. And then there's like 4 or 5 months where you don't have anything for a while in the farm, but you have referrals and stuff too. But I think my hope was like, just give me one. If I can get one in the area that I live, then people will see that sign and people will trust me to do the next one. And that's what happens. Yeah. If you're doing it right, that's what happens.
And so when you started to when I got a call, got some interest, maybe they didn't list, but just what was that time frame like?
Probably maybe 6 months, I would say, where we started to get some like people calling and saying they saw what we did. I would say maybe a couple community events in too. Like we started with a Good Neighbor Day, which happens in September every year. It's a real national holiday. And from there, then we did a free ice cream thing. And then people are like, I remember you from Good Neighbor Day and the free ice cream that you did in the last 6 months. And then it grows exponentially from there.
Yeah. So you jumped right into the tactical and operational stuff, which that's why you're so great. I love it. So, all right. So from a tactical perspective, you talked about, you did a Good Neighbor Day, and now you talked about the ice cream truck and things like that. And I'd like to get a little bit more detail for the listener too, so that if somebody hears this, they can use that. But I want to step back just a little bit. You picked the farm, you got your area. Here's our 600. Yeah, you're going to do some community events, so you know that. But what else did you do? Postcards, letters? Did you make phone calls? Did you door knock? Like, there's a lot of operational stuff and tactical stuff that you can do. What was in your guys' business plan originally?
Yeah, Christine and I made a commitment to do a flyer and a mailer every month. So one thing on the doorstep every month and one thing in their mailbox every month. So that was the number that we basically knew, and we committed to it for a year. We're like, we're definitely doing this for a year, even if we don't sell any homes. Like, we just figure out where this money's coming from and we plan for it and we do it. Because you need that consistency. Like, every agent will send one flyer when they do an open house, or one flyer after they sold something, and then they never see you again, right? Like, you have to make it a long-term goal, and you have to really commit to that.
Beautiful. So I want everyone to listen to, I want them to hear this. Committed to 12 months, and then every single month you had a flyer, which was you door dropped it. Is that what you were saying?
Yep.
And then you had a mailer, which is something that showed up in their mailbox. So for the mailer, was it a postcard? Was it a letter? Did you mix and match? What was that?
It was usually just a piece of information that was helpful, right? So if we weren't doing a community event, it would be, here's what the market's doing, or here's homes that we've sold, or here's homes that our office has sold. It was just some piece of information that really applied to this exact neighborhood, right? And then just had our branding on it, nice and clear, same colors, same look every single time.
And it was a postcard or it was a letter?
It was always a postcard. So postcard and flyer were always just a good piece of information. Letter, sometimes I don't know if we've done tons of letters to the entire farm. I think we'd mostly do letters to like specific people in the farm, like non-owner occupieds or people who have kids or something. We try to like find that information to do those specific campaigns here and there.
Love it. Love it. So from a business, so now from a personal standpoint, right? Mm-hmm. Did you guys do the design, do the printing? Do you have a team that does that? How did you guys get that stuff done? Because that sounds pretty cumbersome in a way.
Yeah, it really does, especially if you're a new agent, especially if you've never done this before. It feels so overwhelming, all the things that you have to do when it comes to that branding, right? But if you just piece it down and you do I always was really into the 3 to thrive, 3 things I'm grateful for. So like every day as a brand new agent, I'd be like, what are 3 things I can accomplish today, right? And in the beginning, it was like schedule a headshot, or, find a logo, talk to somebody about making the logo, pick the branding colors, get my business cards, all those types of things, right? So like it felt really overwhelming to decide what that branding looked like. But really, if you just did one thing a day or one thing a week of the big things, right? Just made sure that you like followed through on doing it. It all just kind of happened. And then once you have that thing figured out, where you know what your logo looks like, you know what your business is called and your headshot that you're going to use, it's all pretty easy from there because you just have it and you just put it on the same things over and over again.
So did you guys have a template that you used for those postcards that you said would go out every month? How did you guys do that? Yeah. You actually did the design, or how did that work for you guys?
Our office had a pretty standard design that we could use, right? And then we really wanted our branding to be more specific. So then we kind of just tweaked what they started with, which is great. I think if you have any template at all, you can use it to make it a little bit more your own, right? And so, yes, I think our office had some ideas on what our design could be, and they helped us design that. And then we took it a step further.
Awesome. And so once it's done, how'd you get it out? Did you guys go to a printer? Did you pick a printer? How did that work for you guys?
I think initially we did try to print on our own, but our office has a relationship with a printing company. And then we got the information on who was in our farm, and we mailed to them through the printing company in our office, which I think was lucky that they had that. I don't think everybody has that.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's great because I think that's where people get stuck, right? The people who are listening now who are like, wow, this is, and we'll get into your guys' success and they'll really blow their mind. But at the end of the day, how do I get this out? So how did you guys stay month in and month out? And again, especially those first 12 months, because they weren't habits built, right? I mean, 4 years later, 5 years later, I got some habits built. We have some systems in place. I get it. But when you were in those first 12 months, and every month I got to get a flyer out, I got to get a mailer out, and the design, and what are we going to say, and what are we going to do? Is this one a recent sales, or is this one, a community event? So how did you guys stay disciplined to getting that out every month?
Oh my gosh, that is the hardest thing. It really is, to like just having what you have going on in your life happening and then know you still have to do that thing a month and like really believe it. I think it's really challenging when you're doing it on your own, which I think the accountability of having each other was really important, because if I wasn't feeling that motivated to do it, my partner Christine was, right? And so we were relying on each other to do our parts. And I think the accountability partner was amazing. I also think that I've been thinking about this a lot lately. It's like, it's not really about just like, I'm a motivated person, I'm just going to do the thing. I don't think it has much to do with motivation for me, because it comes and goes. So, it's very fleeting when it comes, like you can feel it really, really strong one day and the next day not have motivation. But what was there for me was inspiration and my reason. Like I have 2 small children and I need to feed them. So it was like, I don't have another choice except to try to make this work. Right. And that every day was like, every time if I wasn't going to make that month, it was me saying that I didn't have my reason to take care of my family, which doesn't make any sense. Right. So I think I just knew that I'm going to do it because I have to. There's no way around it. You have to find that thing that's like, if I want my life to be different, if I want to have the people in my life taken care of, I have to show up.
Yeah, that's it. I think for all of us and everybody, I think that's an important piece, again, for the listener right now to pay attention to, is that, you've heard it. I mean, if you've ever been on the internet, YouTube or whatever, Simon Sinek, says start with why, and everybody has to, your big why will get you through those days. And there's a lot of truth to that, but a lot of the truth too. And I can speak to this for you because I watched you do it, because you and I, spent a lot of time together. You were in one of my offices in those early days. And what I do know for you, that I think is important for the listener too, is you had a pride in your business and what you do and how you showed up. And I think that it's not easy to talk about, but I want to say this back to you. And I think it's important for the listener, is that you have to take pride in your business and in yourself to say, hey, this is how I'm going to show up. This is how I'm going to be there every day. Yeah, for the kids, and those little dudes are growing fast, and they need to eat. But at the same time, taking pride and having some pride in how I show up every day, and that I show up every day. And that's something that I can say for you that I witnessed, is you never missed. Ever. You were always there, always pushing.
I never thought of it that way, in the way that I handled things, but I think that is true. And I also think that I have this quote that's like on my wall right now that I keep going back to lately this year. It's, you build confidence by having an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are.
Yeah, one of my
favorites. It's like, my job gets easier every day if I can just say, like, that's who I am. Like, that's, and when my clients know that when they ask something of me, 1,000%, I know I'm doing it because my clients need it. And if you can just every day do that and work on like being that reliable person to yourself and to your people around you, it gets easy. It honestly gets to a point where you're just like, this is just who I am. This is what I do. And I can't do a different business than being super honorable and reliable and showing up, because and it makes it easier to do, because when you're letting people down here and there as you're letting yourself down, it starts to get real easy to not do the things you're supposed to do and to back off and say, oh, this didn't work. Like the more that I just did it, the more that it made my life so much easier.
Yeah, that's the identity piece. And so again, for the listener, is that It's just who I am. It's just how I show up. There is no, there's a great book, Dr. Benjamin Hardy. It's like, 10X is easier than 2X or something. And the reason why that's true is, right, 100% is easier than 90% or 95%, because when you're 100% into something, you have no other way.
There's no
it eliminates all the others. 98%, there's a 2% chance that I'm not going to be that person or I'm not going to do that thing. So when you're 100%, that's what it is. I love it. So I want to stay a little tactical for the people that are listening, because I think it's really important. So, okay. So we pick our 600, we get going, we say, all right, for the next 12 months, religiously, we're going to do a flyer, we're going to do a mailer, we're going to every single month. Awesome. And so let's get into some more tactical, because you made reference to it in the very beginning. And so I want to touch on it. You said these community events, right? The Good Neighbor Day. And then you said the ice cream truck. Let's start with Good Neighbor Day, because I think this is one of those things where the listener can say, okay, I can do the flyer, I can do the door drop. Okay, I can get the mailer done. All right, it's going to suck. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to design it, all those kind of things, but I can do it, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of the extra step, right? This is the next step of like true farming. So tell me a little bit more about Good Neighbor Day, what that meant and how that came about.
For my personality, I needed those events. I needed inspiration. I needed to like pick something that would make me happy to do, that would make me think other people would be happy to get and have exist for them too. Because as soon as I had that, then like, oh, I can door knock this. Like, oh, I can give a call to somebody saying I'm doing this thing, instead of just having a random flyer or mailer that says, hey, here's who I am. I hope, like you're kind of begging people to care that you are valuable, instead of just creating a value right away where they're like, oh, you're great because you're doing these things for our neighborhood and for all these, for kids and everybody in the neighborhood, right? And I think that's, if you can pick that thing that gets you inspired, and I think anybody can do that. Like I did that with community events that like really just appealed to me already, but anybody can do that with whatever their passion is. Like if you're into cars, run a car show. If you're into, the arts and music, like start something in music in your neighborhood or something. Like there's just so much. Have a band come play in your neighborhood. Like there's just so much you could do that you get inspired by that, like, which let's be honest, like most realtors did something else first, right? Like we all started thinking we were going to do something else. And I think that makes us better realtors if we have that thing that we were good at and we're passionate in, because you can still take that into your business in however you want to do your business. You can take whatever you're good at and make it part of real estate. And so that's why I did those events, I think, is because it's like, it was so easy for me to knock on people's doors and be like, this is cool, right? And they're like, yeah, this is cool.
Oh my God. Listen, if you're listening to this right now, it's on a recording. Rewind the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds and listen to that again. And I'm going to summarize it with I wrote this as soon as you said it. Give them something to talk about. You see, in any kind of lead generation or any kind, like what happens, what stops us is because I'm like, what do I say? What do I do? Oh, I don't want to be, how many times me running offices and the agent sitting in a class would be like, oh, I don't want to be a pushy salesman, right? Everybody says that. Nobody wants to be a pushy. But what you just said is I created an opportunity to talk to somebody around something that was positive.
Yeah.
It's Good Neighbor Day. We're just going to go do this. And everyone's like, yeah, this is cool. Oh yeah, we love it.
You understand this. When you do that, like I knock on people's doors 6 years into this farming of these neighborhoods, and people are like, oh, hi, I'm so happy to see you. What's going on now? Like, it's the easiest thing. I don't have anybody that's mean. And if somebody's mean to me in the neighborhood, like they're just mean to everyone. And I'm not even upset. They just are like the miser of the neighborhood. Like everybody else is fine. And it's like so fun for me to talk to the neighbors because I've created this environment where it's pleasant and positive and good.
Right. And I'll say this, you've got to the point where you've earned that right. It started with the very, very first one where you were nervous and where you were like,
so uncomfortable. I think part of being a realtor is like, you do things that everybody avoids, right? Like you do things, you put yourself in awkward situations that you're like, I really don't want to do this. This is going to suck. And then you do it and it didn't suck that bad. And then you just keep going and it ends up being not that bad. And somehow you made this amazing commission at some point because you made that one awkward conversation turn into something positive, right? And so it just becomes, it's just the repetition of just knowing I'm going to do something that most people won't put themselves out to do, which is like have these awkward conversations or make this phone call or put on this event that I don't know if anyone's going to show up to, and you just do it. And then whether it works out or not, you like went through it and you experienced it. It's so much easier the next time you do it every time.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Cause I think this is it's a sticking point for everybody, myself included, because I've ran seminars, webinars, classes, and everything. And every single time, no matter how many people sign up, sign into the Evite, whatever, right? Every time the night before when I go to bed, I'm like, oh my God, I hope somebody shows up, right? Every time. So let's go back, that first community event, so to speak, right? And you're like, or let's go back, because I think we can make the ice cream social that you did, the very first one, right? Is like, oh my gosh, is anybody going to actually do it? Right? Are they going to come? Are they going to show up? Did we just we just rented this truck and all this ice cream? Like, holy cow, is somebody going to show up?
Yeah.
One, tell me the feeling. And then two, tell me, what did you send out? What did people see? How did they know about it? And then what was the turnout like? Not result, but just the actual turnout.
So our first ice cream event, we drove around the neighborhood. So we just kind of we literally put flyers out saying, we're going to be driving around from 1 to 4 on this Saturday, hopefully we'll see you. That's kind of how it was, which is actually kind of cool because we didn't expect people to show up. We actually just looked for people on the street and be like, do you want free ice cream? So it actually was great because nobody really had to show up. We actually stopped people walking their dogs being like, it's just free. You want it? Just take it. So that actually took a lot of the stress out of if people are going to come. And then these last couple of years, we actually just parked the ice cream truck because it was like safer with us driving to not drive. And we parked the ice cream truck and then we told everybody, meet us at this corner. Usually it's like at a corner of a school or like just like a major block in your neighborhood. And then everybody just walks over there or drives over there and they know the ice cream's there and they like plan for it and they come and just get their free ice cream and go.
Mm. And so what's the feedback you get from something like that?
Oh my gosh, everybody remembers it that gets to it. Like, even if we don't remember their faces, which by the way, we picked up ways to like remember them. We did a raffle and we gave a bunch of raffle prizes out, like summer gift baskets and watermelon themed gift basket or something like that. Like we did a lot of, tickets to something or gift cards, and people signed up and gave us their contact information in hopes of winning. So we had like 5 or 10 raffle prizes along in the ice cream truck being like, here's free ice cream. Also, will you sign up for our raffle? And that's how we got that info, which was great because we collected info and we gave out free ice cream. And people still tell us to this day, I love your ice cream day, or I saw you 2 years ago and thank you so much for doing that. And the kids look forward to it every year. And everybody looks forward to it every year. It's kind of cool. And they kind of know we do about when we do it, the time of the year. And we just let the mailers do the work. Every time somebody gets a mailer from us, they know there's something of value in there on top of our sales.
Right. So that's a good point. I want to bring this up in this case, it was the ice cream social. People come, hey, you want to sign up for the raffle? Now they give you the information. Yeah. What do you and your team do with that information?
Goes immediately into our CRM. We write notes on what we conversed about with them. Like if we learn the dog's name, if we learn somebody's birthday, like immediately it's like in my phone, or I write a note being like, how do I remember this person? Hopefully, and they give us their address too. So like it goes immediately into our CRM where we could do a newsletter for the neighborhood that they get. A thank you for participating. All the raffle people, like we send an email out being like, here's the winners of the raffle. Thank you for participating. If you didn't win, you still have a second chance. Like there's always things that just kind of keep people engaged. And so we collect the info so that we can always have it for the next time too. So when we do the ice cream socials and the yard sales, we have all those emails and it's part of our newsletter or part of just an email that we send that's like, hey, did you hear the yard sales coming up again? And so it's just contact. It's just always. And then, what that leads to is people that trust you, save your number in their phone, save your email and respond to you and be like, hey, I need a roofer or I need a gardener. And you send them your preferred contractors list or something, or your preferred vendors list. And it just becomes a relationship back and forth of like, hey, I know you exist. Can you help me with this one thing? And then hopefully it turns into sales.
Right. It leads us perfectly into results, because I know that's what everybody here listening is like, okay, all right, we get it. Farming works. Here's what you do. Yeah. And here's what's cool. And I think that I really want to hit people. I want people to get this before we actually talk about your results, is that it took time. You didn't have any expectations. Nothing happened in the first 6 months. We did socials. We did events. We talked to, it wasn't just calling everybody every month saying, hey, do you want to buy or sell real estate? Or do you know anybody who does? It was building a relationship with that farm. And I think that is the key, so that once these people either, and this is a big thing, I want people to get this. Yes, we want the listing in the neighborhood, of course, yes. Right? Because then that even makes it better, and they see our signs and they see our open house signs, and we get to do even more. But the truth in the scale of the business is, when you're that connected to those people, they maybe never bought or sold real estate with you, but they've been to your ice cream social. Their kids recognize and love you. They've seen all of the information that comes across month in and month out. Now they'll turn around and refer you business.
There's literally no loss in neighbors staying their whole lives and staying in your neighborhood and knowing you exist, or neighbors moving out because they're moving out of state or something, or whatever they're doing, like just knowing you, there is business that comes from that always. Like I have people in the community that I know are like, love their house so much, they're going to die in this home. Their family's all close by. But you know who my biggest supporters are, my biggest referrers are those people. It's the people that oh, you want a good realtor to live in my great neighborhood? It's Meghan and Christine. Or, oh, my sister, my brother, they're selling down the street or down, a couple hours away. It doesn't matter. It leads, all of those are good for us. Like if there's any way we can help and be of service in any way, it always turns into deals in one way or another. It just does. There's no way it won't.
Yeah. So we started at 600. What did it go to next? Size.
We added a second block. So we went to 1,200. I think it was like 1,250.
Okay.
And then in the last couple of years, we expanded, and now we're at 2,800.
So from 600 over, we're in 4 years. Is that right? Now?
We're on our 6th year now. Yeah.
Okay. So 5 years in, approaching 6 years, and now you're at 2,800 homes.
For the last couple of years, we've done 2,800.
Consistent. Yeah. So last 2 years, about 2,800. Yeah. And so let's talk about
and it's still not big enough for what our little neighborhood is called. Like there's like 10,000, 15,000 homes in our blocks that we haven't gotten to yet, that we're still expanding to at some point. But that's what we're doing every year, is expanding a little bit and not just expanding on the mailing. We now have bus benches in our farm. We now have a wipes dispenser in the grocery store that has our picture on it. We have, there's lots of where they just kind of see us and know us there. Even if they're not in that 2,800 homes, they're driving by our bus bench and they see that we exist,
or making a nice little mustache. I think I saw you in yours.
Which is never a bad thing. I've had mustaches drawn on me 3 times on my bus bench. And I think it's hilarious. I'm fine with it. And because the company will clean it off the next day anyway. So it's not a huge thing, but that's marketing for me. Like everybody thinks that's funny. I'll put it on my social media and say it's funny because it is funny. I'm fine with that. And then people laugh with you and see you have a good sense of humor and see you're in the neighborhood. There's just no bad marketing for me. There's no bad interaction for me, because I have so much integrity and knowing that I am doing good, that if somebody doesn't see it, I'm sorry for you, not me. I'm great,
Right. Yeah. It's fun when again, no matter what, we have to laugh at ourselves, right? With us, we in the farming is the best one in the world. I'll share this on here because it's a result. Is one of our other farmers. She'll be on later in the year this year for the podcast. And she said, "Hey, she said, Jeremy, I got your favorite call." And I was like, "Uh-oh, which one?" And she's like, "The one where the person's telling me to take me off the list and they're tired of getting my stuff, And I was like, "Oh, that's fantastic." Right. And so she's telling me the story and she's like, "Yeah, older gentleman telling me every time I go to your Every time I go to my mailbox, you're in it. Stop sending me your stuff. We're not moving. We're going to die in this house. And you're just reminding me about death or something to that nature, right?
Gosh.
So she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I asked her, I said, hey, how much are you mailing them? Like, what is going on? And she's like, one time a month. Like, that's it. I was like, and this guy uses the whole, like, every time I go to my mailbox, right? But in the conversation with her, she says, it's funny though, in the background, I could hear his wife going, oh, leave that poor girl alone. She's not doing anything wrong. You're just a grumpy pants.
Just complaining to complain.
Right? Exactly. So in that moment, I was like, oh, shoot. Are you kidding me? She's like, no. I said, here's what I want you to do. Send an edible arrangement, apologizing, say, hey, I'm so sorry. Here's an edible arrangement on me. I just wanted to, just want to say sorry. You won't get any more of my stuff. Right. She's like, 3 days later, I get a call. It's from the wife. And she says, hey, I'm calling you. I live at 123 Main Street, right? She says, and she's like, my husband called. You can send us your stuff. That's fine. She said, I just called. Thank you so much for the edible arrangement. We both enjoyed it. He did too. Mm-hmm. And she said, and by the way, I was playing bunco on Monday night with the girls on our block. And here's across the street gives the address. They need some information about selling their house because they have to move. You're probably going to want to call Sally and Jim. And
Christine and I were just talking about this morning, that life really is your perspective. It's like a lot of what you think other people are thinking about you, they're not, or they're just dealing with their own thing, right? So like my perspective is always just like everybody's nice to me, right? Like that's it just is. Right. And if somebody's not and says that and something happens differently, I'm like, whatever. But like for the most part, that's my perspective. And my perspective when people are really mad at me for doing my job and spending my money so that I can show them that I have value and like make their neighborhood have more value and do really cool things in their community. When people are mad at me for that, people want you to make them feel something. So right, if somebody feels mad, that's more than being indifferent. That's better. It's so much better that they're mad than indifferent because they won't remember you if they're indifferent.
That's right.
But if they're mad, you could do something with that. You really can flip it around and they could be your biggest fans, right? Like it could be possible that you can take that emotion and change it for the better if you just add value for them, right? Or they're just mad and that's just who they are and you just deal with it and that's fine. But that's literally a needle in a haystack, that type of person.
It truly is. That's such a great point. It's all perception. It's all perception. So I want to get into some learnings and we'll clear it up. But tell us a little bit about your results, if you'll share with us, like what was your guys' year like last year? I know here we are in 2024, 2023, there was, everybody was impacted, but what was your guys' business like and how has it grown over the years through the farming you've been doing?
I mean, I think our farming does, it just keeps us in business when everybody else is struggling. I think that does make a huge difference because when the interest rates go up and all you have is your sphere or all you have is this one thing, there's agents leaving this business when that happens. They just give up, And for us, I think we just always have a really steady group of people that are always doing business with us. Our price point could change a little bit based on the market sometimes. It could just be luck that we're doing lots of multi-million-dollar ones, and it could be luck that we're doing lots of condos, But the bottom line is we just always have lots of something happening. Right. As far as numbers, I mean, we've always just done, I'm trying to think of we're usually hovering around, 10 to 20 million all the time as far as our sales.
Right.
And it's always going up, I think, still, even as the market's going down. There's just lulls sometimes in real estate, and you just have to be prepared for that, right? There's still just a few months where everybody's talking to you. Everybody wants to buy and sell. They're just not doing it right this second. And with farming, you just always have this peace of mind that like, oh, but it's happening and it's going to happen with us, and you can just really hold on to that and being like, wait, there's nothing coming and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know where it's coming from next. And I just like wait around and hope. Like you don't feel that when you're farming. When you're farming, it's coming, and you'll have six or eight homes on the market at the same time if you just wait it out. Yeah. Because you're doing the work.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So let's talk about some learning. So what has, I mean, we talked a lot about what is the best thing, right? You talked about, all the different community events and all the things and, all the places that you're showing up, park benches and in grocery stores and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for you, what are some frustrations or were some frustrations in doing this? I mean, was it getting the things out, having to come up with copy or literature? Like what were some frustrations that you dealt with?
I think the main frustration for a lot of realtors is just like, how do I do this expense this month, every month, right? All the time. I think that's a real thing. And I think Christine and I just looked at our business. Like if you're starting a restaurant, you're going into crazy debt, like starting a restaurant, right? If you're, and it takes a while for it to build and do a real business, right? So I think we just automatically assumed, like, we're not just automatically just going to put one mailer out and it's going to do something. It could, and it has happened where you put one mailer out and you get 2 listings of it. And then it's always worth it. You sell one house in a few months and your mailer's like worth it. It really is. So I think it was always just like, what's the budget and can we afford to do this? And I think you just make sure that you just do it. And then it becomes not that big of a deal to make it because you're doing so many sales that like that budget's fine. And but you should have a bare minimum of like, I have to do this, like this is the amount that I have to spend for this amount of time. And I'm going to do all these things. So I think that was most challenging as far as like getting, once the branding and stuff is done, it's pretty easy. Like you can, as long as you're putting something in their mailbox. And for us, we do at least, I think 4 events a year that are our main things. So usually like we're marketing one of those in our 12 months, right? If you're doing 4 events a year, that first couple months before it and that month after it, you're marketing with it.
Yeah, that's a really good point is having something all the time takes away the pressure of thinking of what should I do next. Already having the plan for the 4 events that you guys do, it's already planned. And then you sprinkle in some market research or some recent sales and whatnot. But I think that's a really, really good, it's a very good preparation situation for most realtors or most business people in general. And
I think just like if you're running a business like a restaurant or something, it's challenging to figure out the first event. And then it's cake after that because you have all the stuff and you already have the schedule around it and you already have the branding around it. You just do the same thing every year and you expand it to more farms, more of your farm. Like our yard sale, like we've done our yard sale now 3 years in a row. We started with the 600, expanded to 1200. Now we're at the 2800 doing this yard sale. And we did 2 separate yard sales. We split the farm in half. But like doing it on this 3rd year, like most of it was done. We had the signs already, like they already existed and we just stored them. We already knew the timeline of how we got people to know about it. We already had the Google sheet ready to go of like, here's how you sign up. And we had a QR code already for like what link the website was. So it's a lot of overwhelm, I think, to figure out the first one. But if you could just do it every year, it becomes the easiest thing.
That's right. Yeah. And then it just becomes consistency, right? I mean, there's nothing in this world. If you want to lose weight, you got to be consistent at eating better and getting some form of movement, right? You
like our yard sale, when we started it, we just kind of just did the one a year. And we had this thought of like, why don't we do 2 weekends of yard sales this year? Why not? We'll do one area over here. We'll do one area over here. We'll get it done in 2 weekends. And you have twice the amount of people signing up and you're collecting that much information. You're doing the same work, the same size work. You're just doing it 2 Sundays in a row, So why it becomes so easy to make it a system that expands and grows.
Yeah, that's very well said. We're going to wrap it up with this. I'm going to ask you 2 separate questions. And so they're the same, but they're from 2 different perspectives. So we always get this question. So I'll start with it, right? Here you are, Meghan and Christine today, 6 years later, because there's people on here that have done none of this, that are excited. They're like, oh my God, thank you so much. What do you tell the Meghan and Christine of 6 years ago? What would you tell them today?
I would say to stop worrying about what everybody else is doing, just pick your thing and just do it. I would say don't compare yourself to other agents that are doing it because I don't know any other agents doing what we're doing at this point. And we haven't been doing it that long And we're the best at it at this point of the area that I know, right? In my whole office and other brokerages, I don't see anybody doing the kind of farming that we're doing. And it didn't take that much. It just took our consistency, right? It wasn't, so I'd say just because somebody else has been doing it longer, or you think that somebody's already like got some system that they do kind of near your farm, I wouldn't pay attention to it. If you're doing it well, it will grow. Just feel really confident that like just take those baby steps every day and it will grow into something. And I would just say have those uncomfortable conversations and be okay with them, because they become less and less and less and less the more you do it. So like that's the hardest part when you're getting started, is like, I don't want to bother people, like I don't like when people knock on my door, and it's like, have those experiences. And you don't have to do that forever. It doesn't feel that awkward and terrible forever, because the more experience you have, the more homes you sell, the more you contribute to the community, like the more people want you to knock on their door and call them. And so exponentially easier life gets when you just make these first couple years of like, this is uncomfortable and this is a little hard. My life is amazing. Like I can choose my schedule of like when I pick up my kids and going to sporting events and like for them, and picking them up from school on time. They don't have to be at childcare if I don't want them to be, and I have a really thriving business where I just connect with people. So like, just know it's hard. Everything's hard. Like school is hard for the 4 years of college that you do it or whatever, right? But it gets so much easier when you just do it and it becomes who you are.
I love it. And the main thing is, I go back to the quote I wrote on my notes. Just give them something to talk about. Give them something to talk about. That's the best thing that can happen, because they're talking about you. And so here's my final question.
But also give them something to talk about, but do it from what you feel in your heart. Like right. Jeremy, you come from like professional athlete world, right? Like if you were farming, you could put on like a sporting event or something, or you could put the neighborhood together and do some kind of like some baseball thing or something, right? Like if you were starting from scratch, like what is something that you're talented at and you're amazing at and you love, figure that thing out for yourself. Don't just do what everybody else is doing because it's like, oh, that seemed like it worked for them. Find your inspiration in doing that and contributing to your world, Oh
my God. Again, absolutely. Pure gold. So here's my last question for you. Now I want to put Meghan 10 years from now, right? I want you to have her talk to you in present day. What would 10 years from now Meghan say to you?
I think 10 years from now, Meghan would be proud of me, because I think that I do live in a place of gratitude, and I do live in a place where I really focus on what's important, which is these relationships with the people I love, and watching my kids grow and contributing to the world. And I think 10 years from now, Meghan, I hope she's chilling and life is even easier because she's been doing this so long, and has even more properties and like has all of that. But I think I already feel like I live from a place that I'm really proud of, which is from being inspired and from contributing. And I think when you do that, every day is okay. It's not like, oh, in a year it's going to be amazing. It's like, no, every day is amazing now because I just have that perspective and I know what's important. And also I have enough money now to feel like that, because I went through that first couple of years of struggle, right? And I got through it and I kept going and it became so much easier. So I think she'd be okay. I think that 10 years from now, Meghan would be like, you knew who you were at that point and you were following it. I just hope that I'm still doing it,
I love it. Well, I can't thank you enough for spending the time. There's so many incredible nuggets in here. So the listener. So can you tell the listener where you're located? Again, if you're out there and you are listening and you have referrals coming into her area, I mean, obviously you see how powerful she is, how incredible she is, how well she's grown her business. Where are you located so that they know, where do you serve now?
So I'm in Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. Our main farm right now is in Lake Balboa, where I'm at in the valley. But I'm from Redlands, which is the Inland Empire of Los Angeles. I went to school at UC Santa Barbara, which is, like Ventura County, Santa Barbara. So I know all of Southern California. So I have connections to any of the sales that could happen from Joshua Tree and Palm Springs and Idlewild and Redlands, where I'm from, to Ventura County, basically. And so anywhere in between, we do sales all over the place. I've done quite a few in the Hollywood Hills, and we have a listing coming up in the Pacific Palisades. But like, really, if you need help and you're somewhere in Southern California, especially Los Angeles, I would say, like, I will help however I can. I'll definitely be there for you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you need somebody in Southern California, you know who to call. Meghan, I can't thank you enough for your friendship, for who you are, and I'm just honored to know you and watch you grow. So thank you so much for joining us.
I feel the same. Thank you so much, Jeremy. This is great.